We're gonna probably wait a few more minutes, so if you guys can grab some coffee, 7-ish.
Since you deserve it.
Water.
Whoa, Monica.
Jen, how are you?
Yeah. Did you cut your hair?
My hair is I'll tell you what.
I'm gonna invite you just to bring back bad memories for
You
him.
want hot?
Nick, you can if you want.
So I do want to welcome everybody for tonight's town hall. We are talking about 3 of our renewal levies. I think we're talking about the school levy as well, but we have handouts if not. And we're talking about the Painesville Road and Painesville Fire renewal levies. We've got a lot of distinguished guests here tonight. We have our city manager, Monica Ireland. We have our city engineer, which is Leanne Exum. And then we have our fire chief, Mark Malachek. Also in the room, we have John Shepard, our superintendent of schools, Jim Foner, our city councilman at large, and we have Nick Augustine, who is Ward 3, and we have our former Ward 3 guy here too. I said, would you please come for old time's sake? So Mike Leo's here as well. So I'll turn the podium over to Monica. Thank you for coming, and let's get started.
All right, first I'd like to thank the school for letting us use this space on such short notice. Christine just decided to do this a week or 2 ago and reach out to John Shepard to make sure we could be here. So thank you for doing that, I appreciate it. So there are 2 renewal levies on the ballot for the city of Painesville. The first we'll go over, well, I guess we're gonna go over both first and then we'll touch on roads and answer questions. So in November of 2013, the city residents graciously approved a 3 mil 5-year road levy and a 1.47 mil 5-year fire levy. In 2018 is the last year the city will receive money for these roads and fire levies if they are not renewed. The city council has approved the renewal and they will be on the November ballot. This is not an additional tax, it is a renewal. And the general fund cannot support these 2, so without the renewal, all of the projects you'll see in a moment will not be able to be funded. So we'll start with roads. The 3 mil road levy generates about $663,000 annually. So for those who own approximately $100,000 home, they pay about $105 a year. Again, this is not an additional tax. This is the same tax you've been paying for the last 5 years. Prior to the levy, so between 2009 and 2013, in total, we spent just over $1.9 million on our roads. We are currently spending about that much annually. So from 2014 to 2018, thanks to the levy and our ability to leverage grant funds, we've spent $8.2 million. If you do not have the road levy in the city, we would not be able to receive these grants. And without the renewal, the city would not be able to pave as many roads as we do today. This is just a graphic showing what we spent prior to the levy versus what we spent with the road levy. And on average, between 2009 to 2013, and on average from 2014 to 2018. So as you can see, it's been a very large impact on our roads. Here's a quick look at 21 roads that have been paved since 2014. So anything from Washington to Levan to East Prospect. Here's a graphic of the roads that were paved and they're color coded. So in 2014 it's the red line, in 2015 is the green line, 2016 is blue, and 2017 is the orange. Any questions on roads?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have plan for if the levy renews, what the next set of roads would be?
We are almost done with that. We've been working on it for a couple months now. The trick that we're working on right now is to make sure we have enough water funds to do the water lines under the roads. So it's moving some of the roads up or down depending on where the utilities are. So once we get that answer in place, we actually plan to publish that list so that all the residents can see what the 5-year plan is. And then we'll rotate every year. If there's any changes to those plans, we'll repost it so residents know what the plan is. Yes, Ray?
I have some general comments. For example, should this material have been available earlier? I think roads are very important. The renewal is very important. Some votes already have been cast by absentee ballots. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's getting to be pretty high at this point in time. So, timely communication such as for this levy would have been better served, I think, if we had some material earlier.
Can I comment on your comment? We actually had a work session that went over the road levy earlier this year. And it went over the same material we just went over. So we have been communicating openly. We just didn't set aside a town hall meeting like we're doing tonight.
And also, is it possible to get a copy of this?
It's on the website already, on the front page, and it says town hall meeting presentation. You can click on it.
Good, because I will share it then on the next one.
Great, thank you. Yes?
You mentioned how without a levy, you can't get a grant. I don't see the connection.
So without knowing where the stable funding is coming from, it's hard to forecast out 2 or 3 years in advance. So when we're writing grants for, say, 2020, not knowing that the funding is actually going to be there, it's hard to apply for a grant without knowing there's a stable funding.
That's
So-
a grant was to get funding.
Grants don't cover it 100%.
Grants don't cover 100% of large construction projects. They're usually a 50-50 grant. So you have to have 50% of the cash to match when you're applying. You have to know that that funding is going to be there. So without knowing that funding is going to be there, we won't be able to apply for the grants we've been applying for.
That's not an obvious connection.
I'm sorry.
I'm not into how.
Yeah, and sometimes we get caught up in our world and forget that people don't know it's a match on grants. So that's my fault. I'm sorry. Yes.
Lewis, Mike, long time. Basically, when your question, I worked on these back in the day, and I believe the city's done an outstanding job with this. When you look at that $8 million that was spent in that time frame, you have to bear in mind that the brings in around 650 approximately.
660 a year.
$660,000 a year is what is generated by the levy. So when you get to these millions, it's to match it, and you have to have that dedicated funding source is what the state looks at when they're giving out funds, because a budget can shift, a budget can change based on the will of council. However, a levy is dedicated to just roads, and once they see that and the stability of that coming in each year, it might go up 10,000, might go down 10,000 based on property values, but it's always going to be there while the levy's in effect, and that's what allows the grants to be applied for and given out ahead.
That actually answers questions for years about why levies rather than just a tax. It explains the fire levy, it actually explains why that stuff's done that way. I've never known.
Yes, Rick.
I'd like to throw in Justin's comment about the maintenance of the roads. She talked about new roads going in based on these funds, and some of these funds will be for maintenance of the roads.
Correct.
And you and I talked about the ability to have, what roads are going to be maintained, how are they going to be maintained, when they're going to be maintained, will there be records maintained for these roads? Like if you're servicing your car, every 6 months you're going to change the oil and have a record of that. And so it might behoove us to see some of those records and what the impact is. Much like you're going to have for major road lists for replacements.
So Ray and I talked about this just before the meeting started. And my response to him is, I actually have a meeting on Monday with staff to go over a maintenance schedule as well. But as far as if we've kept records in the past, I actually have to ask my public works director that question. because I haven't asked him that directly. So we'll work on compiling as much information as we have. But I know for sure that in the future, there will also be maintenance scheduled in with this 5-year plan. So you'll see the roads and the maintenance tied to this levy.
How is that gonna be communicated to the public? Because we're in Liberty Greens, and the people on the main street got notified that they were gonna be coming through and putting down that top coat the day before. And then
Yeah.
it was a total disaster, that whole entire thing.
So what she's talking about is the microsurfacing that we tried this year. And I can tell you the biggest concern tied to that is that we piggybacked off the state bid, which means we didn't have control of the timeliness and the schedule of the construction. So we've learned our lesson, that obviously that's not the way to go. So in the future, we'll bid it out on our own, and then we can control the schedule and make sure the contractor is communicating better with our residents.
Because it actually came in on a Saturday.
It was actually-
completely blocked people from getting.
I agree. I completely understand. We were devastated when we found out.
That's okay. When I knew it was Saturday, I said, I'll just leave at 7 o'clock and come back.
Fun.
People didn't know,
It was
people did not know.
The
Yeah.
fun bit was on the one loop, Mike knows the back loop, that they were saying go around the other entrance. Well, that's a
Well, at least you
closed-in
have two
loop.
entrances. Sorry.
So we'll do better. It was a trial, we learned a lot from it, and we'll do better in the
Because
future.
I actually got stuck and the guy almost ran me over. He started moving forward. I waited for 5 minutes to get around it, and he just started moving forward and I was trying to move around. He wasn't paying any attention at all. Yes.
You know, at Risley Park, though, I thought they did a good job for us. So I know that we were all notified, our blog was notified, there was personal flyers on every single mailbox. Thank
They
you,
did that
Ray.
the day before.
The day before.
Well, so it was maybe 2 days before, but at least I knew before and I could plan accordingly and,
Well, we were told 1 day, and they went into Saturday. That was
they were
the-
kind enough to give us 2 days' notice and then didn't show up till the last day that they originally scheduled. So we were all expecting them on a Friday, they didn't show up till Saturday. That's okay, we were told on a Thursday. But we were all notified, all mailboxes and the blog, so I mean, and I guess for us, we were blocked, but not terrible, because they didn't do a large portion of our development, it was a much smaller subset. So we were able to put it down pretty quickly. The difficult part was the bike road, like when you walk on it, like my footprint's in it forever. So I probably have more questions around the material used than the process itself. And I don't know if the engineer can speak to any of the longevity of it, or can you tell me about this? Because this is a new type of road concept. So do you know how long it's going to last and what its projected lifespan is? Is it better than the alternative? Like Jackson Street from my house is really, really nice. Right down half your handy rent, it's not. But what about that microfiber? How long will that last?
So the microsurfacing, that will extend the life of the pavement up to 8 years, especially in a residential neighborhood. We could even get longer. We could even get 10 to 12 years, but we're forecasting more around the 8-year mark. So it's supposed to help with reflective cracking, seal the surface, give you better traction again, and it's only 3/8 of an inch thick. So it's not like your normal surface, but it does sort of do the same thing, but at a cheaper price, and it just extends the pavement a lot longer.
Awesome.
You will be monitoring that for wear, tear results as part, you're actually doing this for study purposes then?
We are, because I've not done this process
Yeah, look,
before, so we're learning, and we're trying different materials and on different roadways. Like on Prospect, because it's concrete, and we mill it, the surface off all the way down to the concrete, we put what was called a fiber mat down, and that's supposed to slow the reflective cracking from coming up to the surface again, and then we paved over it. So we're trying different things to see what works for this area, and we're trying to do it in the most cost-effective way.
Oh, cool.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when the snow plows hit everything.
Yes. That's what
Yeah,
I
so-
just
That'll be where the-
Scrape in the snow.
That's where the rubber hits the
It's the
road,
road,
right?
so to speak.
So ODOT has actually changed their focus from mill and fill resurfacing projects to more of a maintenance-based procedure. So we're following their recommendations, their best practices, their benchmarking. So what we're doing is piggybacking off of their ideas, testing some of them throughout the community, seeing which one actually works, and make sure that, you know, not necessarily in the next 3 years, but maybe 10 to 15 years, we have a really good plan in place, knowing what material will actually work.
Thank you for that, I appreciate that.
Sure.
I knew it was new, and I wasn't sure if experimental was the right word, but.
It's not new in the paving world. I mean,
Okay.
ODOT's had this spec for a really long time. It's just new to me in the
Okay.
process, because
Or in Painesville City, because
Yes, Painesville in
Okay.
general,
Yeah.
yep.
we've not done that.
Actually, most municipalities statewide, this concept is newer. And so a lot of townships have been doing it for a while, but cities themselves, this is a new concept. So we're trying it all over.
We love being guinea pigs over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, that was a question from a lot of people in our development. You did part of the development,
Mhm.
so now we got this two-tone road, and they were asking, is the rest of it gonna be done, or
Yeah.
is it gonna be,
We are going to finish out Liberty Greens next year.
okay. That was a
Well, that's the
question that
plan
people
is
had.
up
That's the
today.
plan
Yeah.
today. I didn't say that, I'm sorry.
That was
Yes,
a question
okay.
people had, I can at least let them know that the plan is to finish it up. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
still the,
So the thing with microsurfacing is that the road surface itself still has to be in pretty decent condition. It can only be in like the 80% wear world. So we're hitting Liberty Greens and Heisley because they're newer developments that are in that percentage of wear. So we can test these products on that road and be able to see what's the best fit. And then as time goes on, eventually we'll have to mill and fill those roads too. But just see how long these microsurface actually extends the life.
I will just say it's better than what we have had in the past in the Heisley Park and probably Liberty Greens, where no physical maintenance was being done on those roads for 10 years. And, you know, I think ODOT has said, has found out in the recent studies, it's better to maintain the roads,
Yes.
cost you less money than to replace them all, you know, work for a levy and replace them and just let all the good roads become real bad roads.
Yeah, so in theory, we're trying to maintain our good roads and keep them good while we're bringing all the really bad ones up to speed. So we're trying to do them at parallel to each other. Any other questions? Yeah, sorry.
It's only 18 minutes in.
Yeah, you're fine, you're fine.
Just checking. Any hope or challenges with Jackson Street from during just the city stretch? So just curious, I know that, you know, I traverse it every single day, and so I just was curious if there was any larger complications. I know it's a bigger road, it's heavily traveled, so planning that one is a
You
lot
will
harder.
be happy to know we have a grant, and we will be repaving Jackson in 2019. So,
awesome.
the
That's all I need to
biggest
hear.
road project in 2018 is Richmond Street. So
Oh,
we'll be
yeah.
starting
Oh, yeah.
the water line as soon as possible, and then doing the paving in 2018. And then in 2019, the really big project will be Jackson. Yeah.
I will happily wait in traffic forever for you to finish Jackson.
Okay.
I will suffer for just that reason.
By then, we'll have a second entrance to Heisley Park, right?
No.
Any other questions?
Yeah. We have been there longer than you.
I'm
All right, all right.
That should have been.
It was worth a try, though. Anything else before we move on to fire? Okay. So fire renewal, 1.47 mil, which generates about $325,000 annually. Again, a homeowner of a $100,000 home pays $51 a year. It's not an additional tax. This is a tax we've been paying. The fire levy allows us to purchase numerous essential pieces of equipment and safety gear. So the purpose of the fire renewal, capital purchases, vehicles, small tools and hoses, technical rescue equipment, hazardous material equipment, radios and accessories, information technology, and vehicle maintenance. As you can tell, this levy does not pay for personnel. It doesn't pay for people or benefits. It's all vehicles and maintenance and equipment. So since 2014, we've spent just under $1 million. We purchased 5 vehicles, technical rescue, items, hazardous material meters, hose, PPE, which is personal protection equipment, information technology, all of this. And then as you can see, the county auditor also gets a piece just because they do the collection of the taxes. So from 2018 or 2019 on? 2019 on through 2023, we expect to spend $2.4 million, just over $1 million on vehicles, and then you see the breakdown of the same other categories. So the biggest items this levy really funds are the vehicles.
Monica, do the grants work the same way for, like they do for roads, same way you
Yep,
matching funds?
exact same way. So this year we've applied for four grants, a load cot, Lucas device.
The automated CPR machine,
Mhm.
safety equipment for firefighters,
Mhm.
and radios.
There you go. So again, having dedicated funding helps us to do grants as well. The Lucas device and the loading cots are pretty expensive, so it's good to get, be able to apply for grants for those. So any questions specific to fire? Yes,
Is this levy, are these separate or are they the same levy?
Separate.
I'll see 2 different
you'll
levies.
see 2 separate levies.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, that's all, that was my own, gotcha.
Yay.
Fire's first.
And it's renewal.
Yes,
Yes.
they're both renewals. Yeah, and we're not asking for an increase on the renewal, it's just a renewal.
So chief, it was 373 Birchwood in case something happens, I'll go yes. Just in case we need to know if something happens.
Any questions on fire? Okay. So in summary, 2018 will be the last year that we receive money from these levies. The road levies allow the city to pay 4 times the amount of roads that we would be able to pay without the lead levy. There's still millions of dollars needed to pave the roads. Obviously, the fire levy allows the city to purchase $1 million worth of essential equipment, and the fire department still needs $2 million in future expenses. And again, the general fund just cannot handle either one of these. So without the renewal, we will not be able to do what we've been doing. Yep.
We have 4 major purchases coming up in the next 5-year period. One is the aerial. The aerial we have is 26 years old today. NFPA recommendations are 20 years. We have a engine that is 20 years old today. Again, NFPA recommendations 20 years. We have our SCBA cylinders, our air packs that we wear, have a 15-year life span, expires in 2019. And then the 4th one is another ambulance. So that will be, we've got another ambulance coming up in 2 years, actually 19. And then after that, we go into a remounting process, which will cut the price of the ambulances in half. So we'll buy an ambulance, we'll remount it once, and we'll buy it again. But by remounting, we gain time that are lesser expensive. But we've got those 4 big expenses coming up in the next period.
And remind, the levy will extend through,
2023. All right, if that's it for me, I'll turn it over to John. You can come up and talk about the school levy.
Thank you, Monica, and I'm happy that we could accommodate you at the last minute, but fortunately this room wasn't used, and we appreciate you inviting us up to
Oh, of course.
at least give our renewal that's on the ballot next week as well. Painesville City Schools, and Deb Remington is one of our school board members, and Steve Castell is over there, another school board member here representing the district this evening. We have issue number 7, which will be on the ballot, which is another renewal for Painesville City Schools. It's a 6.06 renewal for operating expenses. And since it is a renewal, it doesn't increase your taxes. It is a 5-year renewal that will expire at the end of this year, 2018. And the money is used for operating expenses, the daily operation of our school, of all of our schools. It includes the purchase of textbooks, curriculum materials, instructional technology, utilities, staff salaries, and other day-to-day operating expenses. Again, we have been doing a door-to-door campaign across the district. So if you live within Painesville City Schools, you'll see all the great things happening, and we did talk about our levy on the handout, and we appreciate our community for supporting the school district. As well as I wanted to give a shout out, not only does Leon's engineering department keep the school in constant contact, but without Chief and his crew over at the fire department, they keep our city safe for our students, our schools. We had a little run-in today with some microwave popcorn at one of our schools, which we appreciate you coming out and taking care of that and scolding somebody for using microwave popcorn. But I think we take for granted often, living in a city like Painesville, the outstanding services we receive. Now, I happen to live across the street, so I know the equipment is well cared for, and I know that our engineer does a great job with everything that we have going on. But it takes a community, not only the school district, but the city, and also our partnership with the college to keep our city a strong and place that people want to be. So with that, I hope you do come out and support issue number 7, as well as the other 2 issues that the city has on. And we have several other issues, such as the senior levy and lots of other things on the ballot. So to make our community stronger, it takes your support. So I'll answer any questions you might have about what we do with our tax dollars each and every day.
You said senior levy is in senior high school?
Senior citizens.
Oh.
Senior
Yeah.
citizen.
High school.
I know, it's a good clarification.
Yeah, it's a senior citizen levy on as well.
John, does this fund all the schools? I mean, is this?
It does.
It does, okay.
It funds all of the schools from pre-K, which is our Red Raider preschool, all the way up through Harvey High School. And our levies are set up in a way, our funding is set up that we diversify the levy dollars or the tax dollars so that we're not funding one source from one levy. So we diversify our funding so that we're not, if something were, to happen, we wouldn't have to take a cut in one area over another. Well, again, thank you, Christine, for reaching out to me and seeing if we
I
could use this
appreciate
room.
that,
We
Jen.
love to show off our schools because you, the taxpayers, help us provide this for our students and for our community. So anytime you need to use our district school buildings, let us know. We appreciate you again, Chief, and your department for all you do and for your department.
We usually open it up for any other questions that anybody might have that, at this point, we courteously wait for the presentations to be done. When they're done, any other questions that anybody has for the city manager or Leanne or Chief Logic is welcome and open. Questions on whatever you see in the city. So if you've got questions, please feel free.
And don't they have to take a cookie?
And then,
Well,
see, here's the thing.
Get a sugar high first.
Here's the thing. When Mike and I used to do these, he took them home for his kids. Why do you think Mike is here tonight? Hey, so I did it, so I got something. All right. But anyways, anybody have anything for Monica or Leanne or Chief Malasha? Yes, Ray.
Again, I think this is a very good environment to have, the town hall meetings. I wish it were a little earlier in this cycle. As I said, some of the voting is already in the schools for the levies.
Sure.
I'd like to thank Christine and Nick for holding this. And Mr. Fodor for being back there participating. It would be nice if other members of council could also be in attendance.
They are in Columbus this week. 4 of them are down at the training.
Yes, Ohio Municipal League Conference.
Very good.
So they're getting educated.
Other than that,
I spoke with them today and they send their regards.
I think we have the right person here. That new pool behind Atwell's, did that handle the rain really well recently?
It did, actually, it filled up 3/4 of the way and it drained down slowly, just like we had anticipated. We did not get one flooding call over this.
It's doing exactly what it's supposed
Yeah.
to.
I didn't expect it to get that full for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that
It's a
used to be
lot
in
of
people's
water.
basements, so
Oh, I'm happy.
it's right where it belongs.
I think that it brings up a good point. The city council realizes that sometimes there's a little mistrust. So, you know, just going for a regular levy and saying, trust us, sometimes that doesn't quite work totally well. So what we've done over the last several years is the fire levy is dedicated to fire equipment, the road levies are for the roads. We've had some increases with the water, but it goes directly towards water line, the new intake, and then the stormwater, which you're paying $2.75 a month for, has gone in to help pay for stormwater projects again. Trying to address those issues that were brought forward loud and clear, either in our neighborhoods or by phone calls, that we need to improve the process.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, there was well, I guess it's 4 years now, the police levy was out as well for,
Yeah.
is it coming back?
We've taken it to the safety committee, which has some residents sit on it as well as a member of council. They're reviewing whether they're gonna bring it back or not. They have not made a recommendation to council yet, but they are looking into it.
I guess we're
Um,
done.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
After the holidays.
And please, take cookies, get before Mike does,